People will start showing up like last month.
Yeah, where is everybody? There we go.
They're coming.
Hey, John. We're two guys from the same place, so we don't count.
What place is that?
Enjoy movies your way.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bronley and I are from the same place-ish.
I don't know if that's true. It's sort of. I work for Fubo, and Scott works for Disney, and now like the Disney Hulu plus Live TV Fubo merger. We're more buddies than we were before, but I don't know what that means. It doesn't feel any different.
Gotcha. Well, Disney will probably gobble all of us up.
I'm sure. Yeah. The great consolidation is upon us.
They came out this week and said, yeah, we're not doing any mergers right now, any acquisitions. We kind of have everything we need. So like Warner Brothers is up for sale and all that. And they're like, no, don't really need it.
Yeah.
We're good.
It looks like the auto join is set up correctly this time. Last time I had it messed up, so I had to like manually elevate every single attendee to be able to share, and now they're all joining in. So welcome everyone.
Hey Nass, how's it going?
Hey guys, beautiful rainy day here. How's going on your side?
Sunny and chilly.
Oh, that's better.
It's nice. It's kind of chilly out here for me too. I'm in Pennsylvania. This morning, I go to like a really early morning Bible study on Thursdays, and I have to sing. And so my voice is always usually like really worn out in the morning, singing, leading music at like 4:30 in the morning. So this morning I tried something different where I woke up at 3:30 and I took like a 4-minute jog through my development, like as fast as I could to just get my blood pumping. And it really helps. So pro tip for all of you people that want to sing at 4 in the morning, if you go running first, it helps. But it was cold.
I'd say the better pro tip is, why would you want to get up and sing at 4 in the morning?
Yeah, it's good. We got some guys in there. We've just been hanging out and kind of like challenging each other and grounds. It's been good. But yeah, definitely stretching is like a musician. You don't realize how much you really need to warm up until you try to sing like 45 minutes after sleeping for 8 hours.
8 hours. So you wake up at 3:30, subtract 8 from that.
You know what? That's not right. Normal is 8 hours. I did not get 8 hours last night.
Okay.
No, I think it was 5. I think I went to bed at 10.
You know, I'm kind of the opposite. Like last night, I probably went to bed at 3:30.
Yeah.
So we have full coverage, 24-hour coverage.
Yeah, right.
My wife's a night owl, so I go to bed when I fall asleep on the couch, and eventually she's like, wake up and go to bed.
Yeah, my wife hates falling asleep on the couch, so like she's like, we're just gonna go upstairs and watch TV, so that when I get tired, I close my eyes and fall asleep. But I'd love hanging out in the living room. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got some people. Got a quorum. I'll give everybody 1 more minute. We'll start like 5 after.
Do it like last week. We have our official topic, but where it wanders, it wanders.
Yeah.
No regimentation to stick to any one thing.
We should start getting like, but the question is if people want to talk like lightning talks, you know, somebody presenting something like I don't know, link for Roku or something.
Yeah, I wonder who would be able to speak on that.
I might know a thing or two about that one.
Yeah, I mean, everybody probably has a favorite topic, and it doesn't need to be something long. You know, the work may be more about making it short, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'd love that. I think that'd be great.
Hello to Luke.
Luke,
welcome back.
We have presence. We're honored.
Hopefully you can hear me. But,
yeah, I can.
You can. Okay. Great.
All right, Scott, I think we can get going. We can kick off the topics, and again, we'll just flow wherever it goes.
Well, last week we got real into the OS 15 stuff, the reference types, value types, all that. What I had listed was kind of just the core stuff: threads, the types, the variables, and scope. It's like we got into a thing last week about the m.scope scope not being controlled by what you're in, but being controlled by how it's called, which was a complete surprise to me. I assume some other people too, to where I always thought, like, if you're in a associative array and you're in a embedded function, that the m.scope is the associated array, associative array. And then we found out that's not necessarily the case.
Say that again slowly.
When you have an associative array and you have a function in that associative array, embedded function, I always thought the m.scope was the associative array. We found out last week from Ben that is not necessarily the case. That the m.scope has very much to do with how you call the function.
Right. So you thought that so give me an example here, because I think I know what you're saying. But so if you got
you have my func. If you say aa.myfunc and parentheses, your m.variable inside there is going to be the AA associative array.
Yep.
But if you hoist, if you say x equals aa.myfunc and then you call x with the parentheses, your m.variable is the get global AA. It is the scene. You have no access to the internal scene.
I think that's what you'd expect, isn't it?
It wasn't what I expected.
That's what you would expect if you never use Python. Now, if you come from JavaScript, for example, you would expect that, yes.
Yeah, that's how it works in JavaScript, unless you did something like .bind, and then you can like
Python, for example, and some other languages have implicit binding. So if on the first line you do this myfunc equals aa.myfunc, it actually binds the first parameter, binds the this/self.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it kind of works as the intuition says. Over.
Yeah, that one I wasn't used to, so that one caught me completely off guard because I'm using it and I'm like, where did my m variable go?
Yeah. So
logic errors.
In our promises library, we had to do the opposite of this to not accidentally bind the m that people weren't expecting. So we had to do this exact logic. So you'll register a callback function. We have to store that callback function on an AA somewhere so we can eventually find it to execute it later. And so we actually had to hoist the callback function to be able to run it so that the developers can always depend that the m would be the global m, because they don't care about the m being that random container that we've stored it in. Yeah, so this is intuitive to me as well. This is how it would make sense to me.
It was just different. All the way I've been dealing with it, the m in my experience was always the associative array, because I use functions in associative arrays excessively, and I was used to the m, and all of a sudden I did a hoisting, and it wasn't working, and I had to hunt it down because I'm not used to JavaScript. I mean, my entire history is Turbo, Pascal, Delphi, C#. You know. It was just I've never really dealt with the JavaScript, never been a JavaScript developer, so it caught me completely off guard. Live and learn.
Yeah.
So now I get it, but yeah, that was one of the areas where m gets reused. It can be one thing under this condition, like self and this and all that. So it can you can expect it to behave one way and it behave completely different way. Now, whether I should have expected it to behave as it is, well, that's another conversation.
Nats, you were saying before that I think this might have been on Slack, doing something like this was risky or dangerous if you wanted to like guarantee that like an m was a thing.
Now, I was doing something like that.
Right.
What does that do?
Wait a minute.
What was it for?
I have seen, so I have seen a problem. I don't remember, but I have seen back in the days a problem when either m or global was being passed, because they are implicit local variables that are already passed. So depending on your luck, and I have seen one case in which there was no luck and had to be
So I remember the example, Luke. I think Scott was talking about needing to pass in M in some situations for some things. Like maybe you do A and then B and then C, and then you could override M for some reason if you needed to. I can't remember. I think it was for you being able to do this, Scott, right? So you'd pass 1, 2, 3, and then AA to force it to be that M.
Or-
That was my proposal. And as you said that, do you remember the exact situation where there was the no
I
luck?
don't remember the exact situation, but I remember it had to do with where I had AAs of functions, but the AAs also had more AAs that had functions.
You wanted like the outer one to be the M.
And I wanted to be able to walk up the chain. Because suddenly, if I was nested 3 layers deep, I could see layer 3 usually. I could always see layer 0 to get global AA. And there was no way to get 1 and 2. 0 was guaranteed. If it didn't come with the M, you could do to get global A. 3 was a crapshoot. You might get it in M, you might get global A and M, and if you got the global A and M, you had no way to access the internals of the associative array.
So you were passing them around everywhere. Yeah.
And I was passing them around, and then what I ended up doing is I just have a variable that is the top level one, and I can always just drill back down at my discretion to where when I access something, it'll say, okay, it already exists, just return it, or it doesn't exist, create it, just and stuff. And then if I have doubts on M, I can just drill back into it. And that's working. It's not ideal, but it's very predictable and consistent. But like I said, not being a JavaScript developer, when I ran into that, before I posted on Slack, because I'm like, what on earth is going on here? Sometimes it's M, sometimes it's get global AA, and I was trying to figure out rhyme or reason inside the function instead of how the function was called. Because again, I don't have any experience in those other languages.
Yeah.
So I was looking in the wrong place, and needless to say, completely baffled. Where had I looked at my callers, it would have been fairly apparent that how I was calling it.
Nas, do you remember what the unlucky case was by doing this?
No, I don't remember specific unlucky cases, just that to me, trying to reassign either M or global is bad karma there, and I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Though I see that you're trying something clever there with M equals to M, right?
My only hesitation on what you're doing there, and I don't know if I can explain this well, at some point, BrightScript internally assigns the M variable. And they don't document exactly when that's doing, so they're not bound by exactly when that happens. So if they'd assign it before parameters are looked at, this would work. If tomorrow in OS 15.1 they start assigning it after parameters are
I'm sorry, I did this wrong.
We break it.
And maybe it was supposed to be that.
Actually, there is a good chance that it will work just like you wrote it. That's why I said it's clever.
Yeah.
Right.
We could play with it and try it hoisted and unhoisted and see if M equals M truly gives you the M. It still gives you the problem that you can't see any ancestors.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a couple of layers deep in associative array,
I don't know what happened. One person left and then the whole thing just died. I don't understand.
It said that the host ended it.
Yeah, it was weird. I think I saw Chad leave, and I don't know why that would have been marked as host. Anyway,
Maybe he's, if this is a corporate account, maybe he was first. I don't know.
maybe. Scott and I were in here first. I don't know. Anyway, we're back. I'll splice it all together later, I guess. Are we recording again? Yes. Okay. Luke, were you trying to say something?
No.
Okay. I thought. Okay. Scott, what was it? You were talking? Where were we at?
yeah, I was just saying that even if that worked, my problem had to do with the ancestors in a nested associative array. There's no way to chase the ancestors.
Right. Yeah.
So like I said, I have a variable of all my code in like one M variable at the scene. And then as I create sub ones, they get added to it. And that way now I can drill back down.
Yeah.
So instead of going from 3 to 2 to 1, I can go back to 0 and go down 1, 2, 3. And it's working fine.
Yeah, and that's pretty standard for most things. Like I can't think, like in JavaScript, for example, I don't really have a way to like walk upwards. So that's pretty standard thing you'd have to roll yourself anyway, I would expect.
Yeah. So
But even C# you can't like find out what parent thing is holding a reference to my class just by that. Like you have to.
C# you could do all that kind of stuff.
I think so. If you were to make like a class, this is the exact example. If you had a class and a property called inner, you wouldn't be able to figure out who was holding reference to it, would you?
It'd be hard. Yeah, I'm thinking in the
like the tree views and stuff. Yeah,
I was thinking more in the tree. But anyway, doing it backward or forward, whatever you want to say, where I go back to the scene and walk down, is working perfectly fine. And I just have a bunch of singletons where if I call them, it's basically if m dot whatever exists, return it. Otherwise, here's how you create it.
Yeah.
And it might be m dot whatever, it might be m dot level 1 dot whatever. But that way, if I, because I'm writing a library, if I hand it to ESPN or Hulu, in the m variable, they have one thing that has all my stuff in it. And it's not cluttering up their stuff. And then I just know to drill through there to anything I want.
So Scott, your expectation was effectively that you were expecting that some kind of lexical scope exists.
No, I knew that didn't, but I expected M to always be my associative array, because that's what I was used to it being. So if I, no matter how many nested levels deep I was, M always dealt to like self, and that's what I was used to. Until I hoisted for some reason, it might have been a loop for some, I don't even remember. And suddenly myself was now get global AA, and I'm like, what on earth is happening here? And then when I was experimenting, it was like bouncing back and forth, which had me more confused. And that's what I posted to the forums, and everybody, Addison kicked in.
I'm pretty sure that what happens is that when you do that AA dot function, that particular syntax, it just takes that AA and shoves it into the thing as the end.
It's like an activate. It's like an invocation behavior.
Right.
Yes. So just to okay. So like I said before, when you call a function, two local variables are pushed in the stack internally. M and global. We don't care about global. I mean, we haven't found anything useful to do with it. But M, and it depends on how you called it. If you call it with dot function parameters, it pushes there the AA. If you call it without it, like you said, hoisted, it pushes the get global. It pushes the get global AA.
But either way, you receive them as M, and I always looked at M as being an aspect of the function, and it's not. It's an aspect of the caller or the calling mechanism.
Correct.
And that's what I didn't know. And again, I have no background in JavaScript. I just never got into that language.
What's the lift of adding like a M bind or something on that?
The lift is probably much, but something I would recommend, and I have mentioned, is like to create a apply method like RokuOS.apply, to which you pass array of arguments, and with an optional M as a second one.
That would be quite used,ful, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And then you can code.
I mean, the thing that makes me, I see code all over the place that does. You've probably written it that does.
Oh yeah, I'm going to get it right now.
If some giant if we says, if num args equals 1, then len args equals 1, do it this way. If len args equals 2, you know the pattern, don't you?
Yeah, when I get that pattern, I normally just make it where I supply an AA.
That's the one.
And it has all the potential options, and that way you're not dealing with this whole, arity situation.
Oh, so that's nice.
When I have a situation like that, I just tell you accept an associative array, and it will have the item.
Yeah, I wonder how this insanity came to be.
Well, because for promises, we need to be able to call a callback with the number of args that it requires, and we didn't really know.
And
It's
how
for
do you-
libraries that don't directly call your function, but they hand you a function that needs to be called.
but how do you know how many arguments does it have?
Because you give it an array of arguments, and we do array.length.
Yeah, see, I've seen code like that too many times,
And-
like TFQL, and it's just unreadable.
And why don't you just make the function to accept one argument, which is array?
Because sometimes, as a library author, you're not in control of the function.
Really? Who forced you to?
No. I have a library. I let 100 different development teams use my library,
Yeah.
and they have functions that have specific requirements.
No, but
And
did
they're
it,
giving me their function and their arguments.
but did it grow from mold? No, it was designed by you or by somebody. And when you design it, you say, this is what it takes. It takes an array.
Yeah, so I hear what you're saying fundamentally, but in practice, there have been so many needs to be able to do this capability. Like there are lots of them. We run into them constantly, and that's why this thing exists. Maybe not as common as other
Here's
languages.
the thing. Let's say I write a library. The moment when I see this happen more than twice, I draw the line and say, okay, we solved it, right? Instead of continuing insanity by copy and pasting whatever I just saw. It's done like what, 16 times?
We went up to 32. Where was it?
Okay.
We went to 30,
Times
I
two.
think, yeah, we just didn't want to get to 64 because I felt like that was crazy. But you know, it ends up being like, what is it, like 8 checks? Like we did it as optimally as we could.
Yeah.
Might still be faster than having to make row utils and then calling it, though. I don't know.
Did you?
Let's see.
Let's think of optimizing it. Like, can we make a lookup in a dictionary?
Well, the problem is then I'd have to allocate an actual object to do
True.
that every single call.
Let me ask you this, not directly related to this, but in the same thing. Any chance we will ever see arity in BrightScript where I can have function, you know, A as string, function A as integer, function A as string, B as integer, and based on the calling parameters, it knows which one to go get?
You mean
You never
overloading
see
based,
that happening.
you mean
Like-
overloading based on the type?
Well, Python doesn't have it.
JavaScript doesn't have it either.
Okay.
I
See, that's
think,
one of the things
no.
we
I
see
think-
in the .NET languages.
The thing is, with .NET, you don't actually have functions with different signatures. You have different functions.
True.
It
Internally,
compiles to different functions entirely within that case. Where at compile time, they say, here's the function that you're calling, here's the parameters, or I'm going to go call function variant 17 with that match. So that it ends up only being one function with that signature.
and that's when you're talking generics, if I remember.
No. I even mean like if you've got another
Overloads.
overload.
So, if you got 10 overloads, you have 10 functions.
Right. So in C#, if you had this,
Yeah.
You
what
have
it is in the runtime code or whatever it compiles down to, I believe it ends up making 2 different copies of the function, and the compiler figures out which one to route.
Yeah, it's a different function. There is no need to argue it.
Right.
It's a language here.
It's almost like the arity is tied to the function name for an overall construct.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
this name with this arity means function
Yeah.
27.
Like in C++, for example, I think that becomes the part of the name through mangling.
Yes, the overall signature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever.
Bromley, one comment for clarity, you're using AA inside the function, which obviously that would be M on line 13 and 14.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Or rather, that whole thing is outside, I would assume.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, it was just a weird one. I mean, even after using BrightScript for several years, I just, you know, not being a JavaScript guy, I got totally blindsided by that.
Yeah.
Um,
That's not what I wanted either.
and I was like, where did myself go?
Yeah.
And there's an argument I should have known, you know, JavaScript, all in our very common languages. It just didn't happen to be my background. I never was a JavaScript fan.
I think Bromley maybe invented a way to pass the intermediary there, no? this m equals m should pass, not get global AA, but it will pass the previous functions m.
Yeah, the last thing you were looking at, what we were just looking at with all those if statements is probably inventing away
Oh,
from.
no, sorry. No. I was talking about yeah.
That's right here. Yeah. And I think the reason we would do it this way is to force it to be the local one, but when it gets hoisted, you have a way to override with yours. The alternative would be the get global AA, where you would be able to always force it to be global unless they overrode.
Actually, that's
Yeah.
in fact
That'd be easy.
Mass, go ahead.
That just kind of like gives you power, right? Because you can say, I want the current scope and I want the really global one.
Right.
But I don't know if Luke, for example, would like to say it will work. It just feels uncomfortably.
Well, line 13.
Sorry?
Will line 13 work? I think that's
Which thing are you asking for him to speak
He's
about?
wondering if you're able to call get global AA as part of the
previous line. Let's say m equals m. So the idea here is that it will override m. So the m that has been. So the idea is about sequence of how it's implemented. If m first gets pushed onto the stack, and then all the other arguments, which allows m to get overridden before the function is called.
So the point here, this is not global AA. This is the local M, and the point is that I didn't want to make self here. I wanted to use the word M. And
yeah, so I think the way that it works is that it'll set up all your local variables, and it then does it's got this code for setting up the default initialization things. It's got a little section of stuff in each function, and so yeah, it overrides your local variable allocation. And I think what it does is it'll create a local variable called m that hides the local m that's created by the sort of runtime stuff.
So if we do that, is it something we count on continuing to work? Because it's not really,
no one's going to touch that.
Okay. I know that construct isn't really quote unquote sanctioned by Roku. Is our code going to stop working, 2 years from now?
Yeah. I can't imagine it would change.
I'm not sure whether line 13 works. I don't know whether you can.
I think it will work, but that's what I'm saying. I feel uncomfortably close to the meta, right? It depends on whether the default m and global gets pushed on the stack first, and then arguments get.
Well, I'm confused what that's really getting you as well.
And in fact, Luke is saying something else that it may not work, right? Like that the m that we are creating here is imaginary, and the original local will stay, and the original m will stay.
But you can't ever get to the original m because it's hiding. It's been kind of like covered and shadowed, and I don't know if it's like replaced or if there's a local variable that shadows the one that's hiding underneath, or the one that's hiding underneath is a local variable, and so we did replace it.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you might end up. Do you end up with two local variables both called m, or does it just that I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Like Naf said, are you too close to the metal that you're playing the risks of a minor change breaking it?
We're fine.
I don't know why.
There are no plans that I'm aware of to deprecate this.
Okay.
Or to even change it. So
yeah, because like you can do things like a equals m dot top dot some node I set up in it, and that works. And I think we're depending on things like that, depending on like I think this is pretty consistent. So it seems to me that the deterministic flow is that bind m, set it as a local variable or magic secret, not quite local variable, and then evaluate all of these expressions afterwards in order before you enter the body of the function. But
that would make sense to me.
Yeah. This apply, what's interesting is I don't know that this promises code would be much more efficient doing this or not. You got 7. Go ahead.
So that's not the syntax I would use. Can you scroll back?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I
Just
misspoke.
flow.
No. Can you go back to?
Oh, the code.
Yeah.
Man, this one.
I did misspoke. Actually, what I would propose is this will be part of a raw function. So the way you will call it will be myfunc.apply.
Yes, that
Right.
would be way better.
And correct. And no, myfunc. Yeah, there you go. That's it.
Yes.
And I can justify everything here. Or actually, I'm not married to it. I think JavaScript uses apply, and what was the other one?
Call.
Call.
Sorry?
Yeah.
So the differentiation there is one of them takes an array and one of them takes
I know.
spread out arguments.
Yeah, I know, but I whichever, because here in BrightScript, I don't think actually will implement the expanding, right?
That would be pretty useful, wouldn't it?
So JavaScript is
And the reason that this is passed as a second argument is because it's optional. Yeah. I wouldn't do this. No, not the way you did it. No.
yeah, I was just expanding them.
I understand.
Those are the two differences. Yeah.
I
I
know it because this way you will always have to pass this, and then people that have very little idea of object-oriented programming, you'll have to bother them into understanding what M is, right? So I would prefer to put it as an optional second argument. So in general, if they only deal with functions, they only call it with one argument.
Yeah, the downside is that there may be situations where you want to force an M and you don't want to pay the construction cost of the array just for the sake of invoking the function.
I don't think that will.
Variation on both of those.
I don't think that will happen.
I mean, you have to, if you don't have your own.
How's the difference between 17 and 18 though?
So, this one is making a new array just to be spread out to this again under the hood.
Right.
Okay. Sounds like I can see who the person was that created 32 implementations of function.
Then why do you need 18 at all? Isn't that, why couldn't I have just called that function?
You can't. It's just ugly.
Binding the M.
Why would
Oh,
you
is
do
that
it
just
there
for
when?
binding the M?
Right. The thing you're missing with just calling it is binding the M. Yeah.
Oh, okay, right. And
Because what I have to do is I have to do like my AA dot my func equals my func, then call my func.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is okay, but this is correct. This is a known workaround that we use here and there, right? Like you just bind one value, call it, and then you erase it, let's say.
Yeah, but that's gross. I mean, who wants to do that?
I agree.
But yes, we can do it.
Yeah.
But you pay assignments, invocation, and deassignment. And if the calling the function crashes and it trickles out to a try catch outside, then it's stuck on there. So you have to do like your own try catch, and I don't know.
That's why I said workaround. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
See, yeah, it was like, to me, my problem was solved once I understood the difference. And it was like, okay, I just won't call it that other way anymore. And to me, I was like, okay, problem solved. It was just a matter of me understanding the behavior. So a lot of this to get around it was like, you know, once I knew what it was doing, I really wasn't looking for any other workaround. Yeah. Okay, I get it now. I'll avoid doing that other way because I got bit the once.
Yeah. Naz, I hear your complaint about putting the this arg first because of how rarely we do that in BrightScript. Like a lot of the time, you're probably trying to call a global. The most common path is to call a global function with an array of args. That's the primary justification of this feature. But I don't know how you get this syntax without forcing the this arg first.
You don't get this syntax. I don't think it's likely. I judge it as 2% likelihood of this happening. So I place practicality over copying JavaScript.
So which one are you wanting then? Line 17, passing in this.
So what Naz, this is we'll say what Bronley wants functionally, and
Not
then
functionally.
what Naz is proposing is
JavaScriptically, not functionally.
Yeah, JavaScriptically. Yep.
Correct.
Where it assumes the self.
Yeah.
Option, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm on the fence on whether this method should be called apply or call, because it depends on which school you come from. If you come from Lisp, it would be apply. If you come from, I don't know, from the street, it sounds more logical that it should be function.call.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, I just copied and pasted. And
Um,
if you were going to go with both, following the JavaScript convention adds some apply and call have different conventions.
Yeah.
But if it was only ever going to be this, I think I would call it call. I think that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be apply?
Well, depends. Like I'm saying, yeah, it could be. Sure, whatever.
And what happens if you don't pass in the optional M override?
Then it uses whatever it would have been if I had done this on its own. So I think that just means global. It would be the global M. So
Okay.
Yeah, correct. So when you pass a second optional argument, it acts as dot function call. And if you don't pass the optional argument, it calls it as non-dot function call, right? So it's a get global AA, whatever it does currently without dot call. So that way you could emulate whatever you please, right? Without being any security threat or anything. It just allows you libraries like what you already did with 32 different implementations.
Yeah, exactly. I just still like the micro optimizer in me, which, you know, people can argue one or the other, but this platform benefits from micro optimizations more than others. With the small hardware, I still
really
this for not having to do workaround.
really benefit from micro optimizations?
I mean, technically.
All the channels I look at, the thing that's killing them is a combination of giant AAs being copied everywhere. Yeah.
Or giant arrays.
Yep.
I don't see that many giant arrays, but yes, if you have got a giant array, that will also kill your performance.
That's kind of telling me. That's kind of telling me that the same optimization is not coming soon to raw arrays.
It is on the list.
The attitude of Luke.
It is on the list, but there's so many other things that need doing, and things
So
are
it's not 15.1.
No. So it's that, and then the other one is hanging around waiting for rendezvous for no really good reason.
Yeah, I mean, those definitely are huge.
Yeah.
When we have to process, like we get data from the server, and we have potentially hundreds of thousands of iterations of rows. Something like this, depending on what we're doing, if we're sanitizing things here and there, like this stuff could add up. Now, maybe not this specific situation. Like calling functions already has an inherent amount of overhead, but I don't know. We've micro optimized a bunch of our hot loops for all of the data we're processing and seen measurable improvements.
Okay.
You know, getting back 2, 3, 5 frames on the render thread sometimes, depending on how we're handling certain pieces of data.
Fair enough.
But you're right. I mean, those are the things you listed are definitely like the biggest slowdowns of the platform.
Yeah. I mean, if you've got 15.1 and access to Perfetto, then it's worthwhile just running your channel and looking at the rendezvous. I mean, some of the stuff I see is just mind blowing.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah. Just give me my own lock function. I'll just lock all the stuff myself. Just give me raw memory management. I'll do it. I'll love it. I love every minute of it.
You can send a message over the queue thingy, or you can just not use rendezvous as much.
Yeah.
Some question on rendezvous, and this is just me being ignorant. You know the global array.
I'm just going to jump right in there real quick.
Yeah.
People keep on saying, "Oh, I must be stupid because I don't understand rendezvous." Right? I just want to make it absolutely clear that rendezvous are just really hard to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't understand them, it doesn't mean you're stupid. It just means that they're hard to understand. Anyway, sorry, with that out of the way.
No, where I was going, the global array, not the get global AA, but the actual global array. If I'm in a thread and I want to do something in global, I got to get it, which is a rendezvous. Then I make my changes, and then I got to push it back, which is a rendezvous, correct?
What is a global? Oh, yeah, hold on.
I'd like to see some code here.
Global.
Global node.
Global.
Go-
Node. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
If I do that in a task, I'm crossing boundaries. If I do that in the render thread, I assume I am crossing boundaries. If I do it in the main thread, I assume I'm crossing boundaries.
No. Well, it depends
That's
on.
what I'm asking, is one of
Right.
them own the global node where you're not crossing boundaries messing with it?
Right. So crossing boundaries is a slightly vague term, isn't it? So
Yes.
so m.global is just a node. Yeah.
Mhm.
So if you're on the render thread, it is owned by the render thread, and so there's no rendezvous penalty to pay.
However,
Yeah. However, if you are getting some giant AA in and out of that that thing, all of those AAs are accessed by copy. Yeah,
Right.
so that's maybe the boundary you're thinking of there, is you're copying data in and you're copying data out, and that's depending on how much data there is, it's quite slow.
Normally, in
Accessing
very little.
if you're accessing like a string or a bool, it might be really fast.
But
If
if I do it in the render thread, I'm not dealing with a rendezvous as long as I'm in the render thread, right?
Right.
Just the
Then I
copy.
can check to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're in the main context or in a task thread, then yes, you would be doing a rendezvous on top of any copying.
Right. But it's free other than copying in render.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think essentially every scene graph node is owned by the render thread, except for some caveats. You've made certain kinds of nodes in task. I think is it just content node that you can make in a task, but the ownership isn't transferred right away?
That's right. Yeah.
But I think like if you make like a
node.
in task, I
You
think
make-
that gets shipped
yeah.
over right away, doesn't it?
Can
Yes.
tasks own timer nodes?
I would think, yeah, that is actually renderable nodes that can't.
Right.
Any
Well, some-
renderable node ends up being owned by the render thread.
For
Well,
a
Right
it's-
away.
tasks-
for
tasks
a
could have
mysterious
timer.
reason.
Right. So then even in the main thread, this m.global, because global, well, you don't actually have access to, let me say this again. All scene graph nodes get the m.global set for them. But in main, it's not. You kind of have to set it for yourself if you wanted sanity to,
Correct.
if you wanted to keep your sanity in the main thread, you have to set it yourself.
Yeah, because main is just old school bright script from
Yeah.
pre-scene graph days.
What is that? Is it like somebody can,
m.global equals.
isn't it is it m.scene.get global node or something? I can't remember the syntax, but how
Yeah.
we do a lot of projects.
No, raw is just
From
screen.
screen.
What's it from?
Screen.
Screen. Okay. And it's like get global node or global node
Yeah.
or whatever it's called. Yeah.
So
Right,
just
good.
to wrap the previous one, only node and content nodes do not belong to the render thread until it touches them. I like to call this the Midas touch.
Yeah, that's
Because the moment render thread got whiff of them, just touches them, and they now belong to the render thread. So as long as you keep everything in the family within a thread, they are fast. And when it sees them for the first time, and no more. Over.
Okay.
I have a question here. Why use the global node and not scene? I mean, is there any implementation, or somebody has observation? Let's say that somebody puts all the data on the scene instead of the global node. Any difference? I'm not recommending it. It's a question.
I'll let actual Roku developers chime in on that.
I
Or
got
other implementers.
Brian, Louis.
Sorry, I didn't catch the question. Sorry, can you repeat?
So I have a doubt, so to speak, right? What's the difference of using the global node versus the scene? Like you can put all the junk that you have on the scene, and I don't think there would be a difference performance-wise. I'm not recommending it. I'm just wondering.
just adding to the
The
scene.
major difference is mglobal is a more direct access, whereas to get the scene you have to do m.top.get scene unless you store it somewhere.
Correct, unless you do m.sin equals
Yeah,
But you have to do that
m.sin
in every component then as well.
in every init. Yeah.
In every init, yeah, and you get global for free.
Well, again, I'm not promoting it. I'm just wondering if there are any implementation differences, and suspect there may be none. It's just for convenience sake of having global. Not to mention somebody can say, yes, but global can outlive the sin. And there are some situation it may, but a typical Roku developer never sees that. Over.
Yeah. We have found ways to create multiple scenes, and if you can clean the old ones up correctly, it's really interesting idea of like swapping whole scenes. I don't know if anybody else has played with that before. We're not doing it, but we've toyed with it.
So in other platforms that I have used, actually scenes are replaceable, and there is like transition methods between different scenes. But in Roku Scene Graph, from what I see, it just stopped at creating the scene. And actually, when you want to use scene the way like UX would use it, you just need to use a group or something else, right? And the scene is like a holy cow. You kind of don't touch it.
Yeah, there are a couple of properties that have to be set on the scene, though, right? There's a few minor differences for scene, like the instant resume fields, for example, stuff like that. Some of those things have to be on scene itself, do they not?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's through a customization
Right.
node or two, rather. Customization, and then there's something about like the customization node itself receives an argument like on suspend and on resume or resume, and I don't remember exactly, but yeah, it's all in the scene.
You could receive on resume and on suspend events on other nodes too, right? Not only on the scene, like hypothetically, I think.
You can register customizations on other nodes?
I don't remember if those are customization, but on resume and on, at least at some point, I believe was able to do on resume and on suspend on any node, really.
I think that's might be right.
Really?
Yeah, and then the fun begins in what order they get handled. Because you can mess it up royally there, right?
Yeah, it does make me wonder whether that means that there's a performance penalty, as it's
I'd wonder about that as well.
walking the entire list of nodes in order to find out if you've got a customization thing. I did look at this code recently.
Which probably doesn't help making for fast resume and suspend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do threads continue to run in suspended app? I think there was some kind of funk there. As long as you don't touch the render thread, I think.
Yeah, they do keep running, at least from our experience. But it's as you say, once anything touches the render thread, it's gone. Yeah.
So you can keep mining Bitcoin. I mean, the speed alone will discourage you.
Yeah, but you get less CPU time. You're in a different secret.
But hypothetically, if you have 10 million devices running at a time and you're really, really good at, chunking your jobs.
I feel like if you got 10 million devices, then, I mean, maybe.
Disney is the one mining Bitcoin.
10 million free devices. I mean, like if you're a big app, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, I'm suspended. What am I going to do? Let's keep it busy.
Just for the avoidance of doubt, I don't think Roku would be very happy about somebody writing a channel that did do that.
Oh, that's not surprising.
Well, I said you'd be happy about somebody just going out and buying 10 million devices in one clean swoop.
No. So the deal is not to buy. devices, but to mooch on people's, right?
Yeah.
That's what they do. And in fact, in web browsers, often this has been a problem, and I think it's still a problem, like loading JavaScript, and it does something in the background. And in some cases, phishing sites are actually, just renting your CPU while you're on the page.
Like the old grid screensavers that would like do research and all that IBM had, to where you could subscribe to it, and then your machines all became part of the research grid.
The SETI at Home project, the folding at home proteins project. Yeah, over.
They had a genome one for a long time that they were just using millions of CPUs if you just subscribed. And you're basically saying, if I'm not using my computer, it's yours. So when that went on for a long time, I haven't seen it in a while.
So fun story is that very few apps are actually using on suspend and on resume de facto. That hasn't been forced nor popularized.
The only thing I've looked at it for was like a final database write, where I can kind of store in the registry that, hey, I have some unfinished business, pick it up on the next time. And I've really not pursued it that far. But that's the only thing I've had, people here and there talk about using it for that. To where you're not actually resuming, suspending a channel. It's just a way to do a little bit of last minute paperwork.
Yeah, I feel like we had trouble, just everything was stale anyway. And so it really just didn't benefit most, especially because like with Fubo, we have a live service stuff. And so like stuff is stale in 2 minutes. And so for us, it didn't solve much. Maybe for like a not changing that frequently, like video catalog, it may work better. Like a Netflix, for example, would probably serve better with Intro or Disney Plus. Yeah, for us, we just, I don't know, it just didn't seem to solve, because we had to blow everything away and load it all again anyway. So we were building cache management and all that. Just like,
it should save you a load of startup time, because there's quite a lot of fooling around that happens between the point where where RokuOS says, now let's go launch that process, and the point where main starts running. That can be quite long, and all of that time you get saved by using suspend resume. So
yeah,
that'll be a couple of seconds for sure.
One pragmatic problem I agree with is that sometimes the app will get suspended, let's say for hours or for days. And for practical reasons, the best thing to do would be just to restart it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason, like, for example, Chris Dwyer-Perkins was saying the problem is that currently there is no API to restart the app. The app cannot force itself to restart. Now, this was able to do before with ECP. Like, you can launch yourself through loopback call, right? But that was killed. So currently, if an app wants to restart itself, it couldn't. And paradoxically, that leads to apps saying, screw instant resume. I'm not going to use instant resume at all because I cannot force fresh load of myself.
Yeah.
Right. And I kind of agree with it. Like, you can argue however you want that, yeah, if you're working really clean, right, you should be able to restart yourself. But I mean, in practice, considering, the thousands of lines of code, sometimes it's just easier to reload, right? To have an API to restart yourself. Or and there isn't. So that's one excuse I have heard.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And if you could specify, like, I want every half hour, if it's been longer than a half hour, start me fresh.
Well, no, I actually don't even know that, because for me, it's very easy on suspend to set a timestamp, right? And then when you resume me, I just compare it. And the reason I like this one is because my logic of the app inside, I can make it change however I want, right? Which is better than telling the OS if it has been 2 hours. Meaning, I could at any point make the decision, and to me, this is more powerful, right? So to me, the only thing that is needed is just give me an API, restart myself, right?
Yeah.
Main to just exit. Will that do the same thing?
No, but it closes. So you instant resume the app says, ooh, on instant resume, no, I don't like where I'm at. I need to restart.
But main can carry on running.
force the person to have to open the app
But
twice.
look,
Yeah.
look,
Main-
that will exit, and who knows where the user ends up, right? We don't want to lose them, so to speak.
You basically want to recycle, basically
Yeah.
saying,
And by
kill
the
yourself
way,
and come back.
to see this,
No, so you want to exit? If you just exit from main, then you're
We don't want to
Yeah.
exit. So somebody did a deep link into my channel. They want to watch this specific movie.
Yeah.
And it's been 17 hours since my app was up, and I've determined in the instant resume startup function,
Yeah.
no, I need to load,
work out.
not start.
Yeah.
I still want to take them to the movie, but if I exit my main app, they just go back home, and then it's
But
dead.
what you could do is in your main app, you wake up every 10 minutes, and you check the time. You say, "Oh, well, it's 3 hours since I got suspended, and that's too long." So you exit, and then when they go and hit the thing, the channel will relaunch from scratch because it's no longer running.
no, but the problem is that you cannot rely that the user will go and re-enter you. The user, there is a lot of friction there, right?
No. So now he's saying, your channel suspends.
Yes.
Every 20 minutes, you get to run a little bit of code, is what you're saying, Luke? In
I'm
that
pretty
instant
sure
resume
that
background?
main can carry on running, doing stuff. It just can't do a lot of stuff.
So
Okay.
like our main function will run indefinitely as long as we're suspended until we're killed.
Yeah.
So then you would just every 20 minutes check to see if you want to exit, and that kills the instant resume.
Yes. Now, I'm not recommending that because I've only just thought of it like 30 seconds ago. So, the obvious problem with it is that if somebody hits the button to launch a channel just at the point where you're saying exit, then you will get that having to double launch type problem.
That feels like a pretty rare edge case, but yeah, that's fair.
That's the obvious one.
Okay, that's a possible workaround. I mean,
Hmm.
okay, this should be tried. But look, I mean, the simplest things would be just to have restart. And like I said before you were able to do loopback ECP, like /launch yourself with a parameter, and that would restart you, right?
Yeah.
But because that was disabled, now an app cannot. And by the way, this is actually easily fixable without even new API. Somebody needs to go into the ECP code and, well, no, I'll take that back. It's not that easy. Too many things to. I was going to suggest that make it able for an app to do loopback just for itself. But the problem is that there are too many layers
Yeah.
that will need to be pierced to make this possible. So I'm withdrawing that idea. Over.
I think that a restart app would be really nice. Also, for the developers that aren't going to like run in the main loop and kill their app, in the background, this behavior of coming into the instant resume function, deciding, no, we really just can't. We don't want to. We need to be exited. We're too stale. One design pattern for that is, you don't have, like, your main scene is just an empty shell, and inside of that you blow away your main app, which is like a group or something. But the problem is you've still got potentially tasks all over the place, and there's all sorts of like memory and garbage collection problems that you just
global nodes. Yeah.
you can't clean up yourself, or if you do, it's so much maintenance to keep track of it all. So like, a Roku, please just reboot me, even if you limit it to like you can only do this in the instant resume function or something within 3 seconds of startup or something like that, would prevent you from just blowing away your app anytime you get a runtime exception, because I think that's one of the main
By the way,
arguments against having it.
to see this happen in Netflix, press quickly the start button 4 times, the start button on the remote. What that does is actually enables the accessibility features. And the way Netflix handles that, when it detects it, it just restarts itself.
Huh.
But I mean, kind of like illustration, it's a side effect of enabling or disabling the voiceover features. But
we are handling that on Peacock, though. I think we get an input signal or something to let us know that the TTS, the text-to-speech service, has been enabled.
Yeah,
so we are handling it. We're not restarting the app. We're just like,
but
yes,
yeah, and here this is just to say that the choice Netflix made was just to reboot itself. And what let's say somebody else is saying here is, I also want to be able to do that.
Right. gonna. Well, we're at an hour.
Yeah.
Is there anything else pressing? We could keep going. I mean, I don't have anything after this, and we went for 2 hours last time, but what else do you guys think?
Nothing pressing. Like I said, I have my curiosity on the variables, on the global variables. And I like the idea of an app being able to restart itself.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. I might.
So to me, yeah, it seems like little things like this have become a hurdle in the way of adopting suspend resume, instant resume of apps, because it's not mandated by Roku, right? And I think it's a really good feature because speeds up the user interface, right? Switching between apps. Over.
If you make the app start up 75 to 100% faster, maybe that'd mitigate it too. What's slow about starting up the apps? Like, you've got pre-compiled from the store most of the time. DCLs might be a slowdown if you're using vendor libraries, which could be cached and pre-optimized as well, maybe. Like, what else slows down the startup?
At that point, it's probably just the logic we put in our apps, right? So you have to set up your framework if you have it, all of your nodes, all of your data. If you're not caching it in like CacheFS or register or whatever, you have to refetch it. So that adds delay. So there's a whole bunch of, like, beyond just the standard system. There's a whole lot of app specific logic that's gonna slow you down, unless you're a very lean app.
Right.
And if you're doing that, I can commend you, because I can speak from experience. Peacock is a beast. So
if you want to know what's slowing down your app, then get 15.1 and run Perfetto on it, and you'll see. Rather than guessing, I mean, I can guess at a lot of things, but instead of guessing, just take a look. Run it on Uber if you're feeling very brave, and share your screen.
Is 15.1 with the Perfetto stuff, or is that available to everyone, or do you need to have special token access to be able to actually run the Perfetto stuff?
15.1, it should be available to everyone.
Excellent.
Not need a token. If you find you do need a token, that's a bug, but that was one of the first bits of code that we removed.
So what do you get with Perfetto? Is it only rendezvous?
Yeah. You get a timeline showing all sorts of exciting things about what's going on in your channel.
But what's the granularity of that?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, there is. I mean, like, the granularity is sort of it's at the level of you've got a call to get field, right? So it'll say, and this get field took 100 microseconds, and then here's a call to ROUR transfer thing, and that took however long, and here's a rendezvous, and it started over here, finished over here, type of thing. And
it doesn't have the granularity inside of functions. Like, it says running bright script. Okay, done. Running bright. So if you don't get the granularity that deep,
there's a
lot of the other system stuff seems like it's pretty good.
Yeah, the functions is slated for sometime middle of next year. I think for 15.3 or 15. Whatever the summer release is next year.
And so you think there'll be granularity of, like, entering function, exiting function, that level?
Yeah,
that would be really, really great. That's awesome. We've been, like, dreaming up having, like, there was like a function call to, like, trace, like, hey Perfetto, here's our own beacon. Just like transpiling our own. Oh, right. Okay. So then we would just inject that at the top and the bottom of every single function or every single exit point, and I don't want to have to do that if I know it's coming. So that's great.
Yeah.
How
So
does this, over? Sorry.
No, go on, Ness.
How does this relate to the previous profiler?
How does this relate to? So it's different to the previous profiler. So the previous profiler doesn't really give you a timeline, and the previous profiler doesn't really give you information about threads. I think, I mean, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I don't know whether I did do that talk, didn't I, on the developer conference where nobody could hear me.
Yes.
That I did have some charts up which I think showed roughly what's going on, the kind of thing you get.
But I mean, does it completely replace the profiler thing, or is it extension to it? Like
so the code, what you get in 15.1 doesn't do any profiling. It's a timeline of events that are going on inside your system. So it's a different tool.
Because Profiler gives you aggregates where you can see where your bottlenecks are, not on a single call, but saying, hey, this, here's where I'm going to put my optimization efforts. This is where my issues are, right?
Yeah, but what it won't do is tell you that, oh, your problem is that you're waiting around in a rendezvous for loads of nodes, for instance.
If you got the Perfetto beacons granular enough, it would be able to answer those questions, right? It's just a matter of right now they're kind of higher level, and you still see it on the timeline. Yeah,
so Perfetto gives you there is support in Perfetto for a profile for doing profiling at the function level, and it's time based, and so you can do things like I want to see the profile, what's going on here, versus what's going on here versus what's going on here. So if we can get that to go, that'll be way more powerful than the existing BrightScript profiler. But I think that even what we've got at the moment is in practice a lot more useful than the profiler.
Yeah.
What will happen if both are being used? Will it explode?
It'll just go really ridiculously slowly.
Will Perfetto start showing the delays caused by the profiler? That's a feature.
Maybe try it and tell us.
I'm too lazy. I'm too lazy. But yeah. So my question in general was, and there doesn't need to be definitive answer, but just putting the two next to each other, is profiler getting to be discontinued, or was Perfetto linked into it, or extension to it? And the answer I'm hearing so far is it's kind of like, well, they don't know about each other.
So to answer that question, so the existing BrightScript profiler is not going to be thrown away, but it's not getting any more development. The plan is Perfetto has support for doing various kinds of profiling. You can go and look it up on their website, and the plan is to integrate that so that it'll give you profiling of BrightScript using that Perfetto stream as the way to get the data off the device. That data does include a timestamp and does include things, information about threads. So it's much richer information than you'd get from the BrightScript profiler. There is whatever we do, there is a sort of underlying problem, which is that getting the call stacks is quite slow on BrightScript because of the way that the line data, the debug data effectively is stored. And so whatever happens, we have to solve that. That's probably in some ways, that's probably the trickiest part of the whole thing, apart from all the other tricky parts.
You mean, sorry, I missed something. You mean that collecting data on line level would be too slow for Perfetto or anything?
There's this problem that to work out what function, what line number and file name you're in is quite slow. And you must. I'm sure you must have noticed if you've ever done any profiling on a non-trivial project. So fixing that would be quite a good thing to do. One other thing, just to mention on the Perfetto side, is that you can inject your own trace points. That's a thing. So in the BrightScript, you create an RO Perfetto object, and then you do begin, end, output some stuff. And
is that documented somewhere, or
there should be some documentation on the 15.1 release notes? I've certainly written lots of documentation for it. If there isn't, then do let me know, and I'll see if I can sort it
Oh,
out.
but
So you're saying you do something like
See if I can,
for,
audio on top. See if I
and then
can.
you do like mark or start or something like that, right?
Hmm.
Tick or whatever. Is
Okay,
that kind of what you're saying?
so I can't find the documentation on the public website. I think it's on the 15.1 release notes.
well, because 15.0 just rolled out.
If you need me to cut this out of the video because you weren't supposed to say anything, just let me know.
No, I'm pretty sure I talked about it in the. Yeah, did I talk about it in the thing? Anyway, it's too late now.
It's coming, sweet.
No,
I'm
this is
pretty-
not detailed. This is
Yeah.
not a problem because it's not a promise. It's not a detailed that somebody will write an app right now and cause problem later by arguing.
Yeah. So you say P equals create object R over Perfetto, and then I'm just gonna, and it's something like P dot begin event, and then you give it a name and like foo, and some arguments like whatever you want, like I think you can pass in an AA and with a bunch of parameters. So like,
Are those like curated parameters, like the Perfetto object has specific things that it needs to receive for that, or is this like your own data?
this was dumped into the trace. So whatever is in there shows up in the trace. So it's just whatever you want. Yeah, something like that. And also, if you put lots of data in there, your trace is going to get bigger and bigger really fast. So don't do that. And then you do p.end event, and I think that's all you need. And then if you want, you can also do a scoped event. So you can do like scope equals. So scope equals p dot scoped event. Was it create scoped event? It might be create scoped event, and then the same kind of thing for blah blah blah. And then when that scope goes out of scope, then that's when the event stops. So
So in this situation, if we didn't know when the function was going to exit, we could put this at the top of our function and then just move on with life, and it will automatically end it for us.
Yep.
Oh, that's really nice. I was imagining having to like rewrite return statements to like make sure that like I put it right before returns, and
so
that's
annoying.
way better.
No, it just sounds like a destructor.
That's fantastic.
And then you can do a flow event. I can't remember what the flow event looks like. It's something like I think you do something like p dot. I think you just do p dot flow event, and then you pass in your name. Do you pass in? I think you pass in a name or whatever that is. Whatever your name that you want to use for this event, and then that's right. And then you give it an ID, which is just a number between, it's just an integer. And so you do that in one place, let's say in your task thread. Yeah. And then you do, and you can do another flow event with the same set of things here. The event 2 is awesome and the 1, 2, 3. And you do that in, say, the render thread. So then you can then track an event from your task thread over to the render thread and lead back in, whatever is, whatever you want to do. And then there must be, I think there's an end flow event to say, right, this is the end of it.
And so that's an integer. So you just have to make up a number that represents the specific flow that you want.
So your event 2 is awesome. You've got, this is the kind of thing where, every second an event 2 is awesome event happens. And, the one and the number is the ID that represents this particular one versus the one that happened a second ago, for instance.
Oh, so you're saying like when I'm over here in a task somewhere, this will be a different number for the event 2 is awesome.
So
It's like an ID. This will be like 1 and this will be 2.
Yeah. So you exactly right.
Oh, because it's the next sequence in the flow.
Yeah. So like maybe you've got requests coming back. So you're sending out requests and you want to know. So you send the request, and this is request number 1. So you call it p.flow event, and then it comes back, and then when it comes back, you say, right, okay, next kind of thing. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's pretty cool.
So here is, I think, an interesting thing, not interesting, but these release notes, where are they available currently? Is it like on a beta bound center code somewhere? And I think in general, Roku, we have a problem with time. There is a big time between when something is done and being available to developers, and would be good if the beta versions would be more readily available for people to. So I mean, on your side, Luke, you're saying, oh, we wrote it, right? And then the question is like, where do people set the upcoming?
Oh, right. I thought that this had been released already, but maybe it hasn't.
I don't remember hearing anything about this in any kind of public channels or anything like that. So
I don't have, I'm not on the beta program, so I was just looking and there is nothing that I'm seeing on this.
Yes.
I would only have access.
Quick poll, which of you guys here are part of the beta program and the beta site?
yeah,
I'm sure Disney is. I personally am not.
So Brownlee, one.
I know. I saw a couple of hands. Luis, I think, was on it.
Yeah, I'm on the program as well.
And like I said, I'm sure Disney as a corporation is, but I personally am not.
And I'm not saying it's difficult to be a member. Yeah, I'm just wondering if 90% of people here are, or if it's 20%.
What's the name of that beta program that they have that you sign in? What do you remember the name of that site is? I'm going to try to log in. What is it?
Center code.
Oh, it's being administered by a company/service called Center Code, but that's just the general location, not. Roku has a specific URL.
Right. I think I was signed in. I'm just trying to see
If it's there.
if there's any notes in there whatsoever.
Nicole just posted in chat a link to what was requested. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not seeing much actual release. Sometimes I get emails that says there's a new beta version available, but I don't think it has a lot of details in there.
Yeah, Nicole, do you know by any chance if this release notes for 15.1 are over there?
I don't, but I know what team I can reach out to and ask them, because I know who owns the portal, so I could ask them like where are the release notes or like what's missing.
Like, this is all I see. It's like, hey, here's the build. Here's how to update it, and you're gonna get some builds for that, and that's about it. So like, there's not really anything special. Like I would love to be like, hey, in this build, we think we fixed these 3 things, and I think we added this new thing. So definitely test those in addition to testing in general.
But preliminary notes for 15.1 are not available there. You don't see them.
I don't see them anywhere. I can't find them. My wife says I can't find things in the fridge, so that might be the same problem with this website, but I don't see anything.
So there is something that can be probably helped, because if this is my general thinking, if something is made available early, it allows for an early feedback. I'm pretty sure there are no bugs, but let's say hypothetically that in the integration of Perfetto there was some bug, and if people yeah. Oh, I'm getting some echo.
I think it's better now.
Oh, okay. If people are able to kick tires early, they would be able to provide feedback before the actual release of 15.1 happens, which is the golden time to fix stuff. Over.
Yeah, I think the problem tends to. I mean, I sort of agree, but I think but if I put my release hat on, which I haven't got, obviously. The problem that I think Roku have is that once you get to the point where you're rolling that release out and you got to a point where you're happy that you can put it on devices and it's not going to cause horrific problems, that's the point where you could start saying to people like NAS, please go and try this out. What do you think? But that then you also want to try and get this thing out. Yeah, you need to get this thing out and shipped to 100 and how many million end users it is. And delaying for some potentially quite long period of time in order to allow feedback just gets really hard. And especially at release, so sometimes there are things in that release that just have to go. That release just has to go out because of some particular reason. Like maybe that's the only release that can support some new TV, or maybe there's some legal requirement we have to meet, and that means that release has to go out and has to go out by this particular date. So I think I really sympathize. I think it's really hard.
There is no conversation about slowing it down. The conversation is to better work with developers. For example, as far as you're concerned, this integration is over and it's in the 15.1 nodes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, 15.1 nodes currently cannot be found anywhere. I mean, outside Roku.
Yeah, that's probably that's my mistake. I think the 15.
Well, not necessarily mistake, but more like there is no established ongoing flow.
Yeah.
To for developers and like we just checked, seems like it's not the majority of developers here that are on the beta side, right?
Yeah.
So if that is work better, we'll be able to provide a better feedback.
Yeah, I mean, it would be. It would be great to get earlier, better feedback, because I've certainly seen some of the stuff we worked on. We've had some really good feedback from when we have had that. It just gets really to do at scale.
And the other idea I have here, and it was inspired by the new APIs for fast data exchanges, like to mark some API experimental for a release, right? To give ability to make changes if they arise.
Mm-hmm.
And not for every API, but like for big API or substantial APIs. And then, the next release, remove the, the black label or the yellow label that is experimental. So people know that it's not going to change. And there is no practice in Roku documentation so far of labeling it that way. But, when you do innovation, some things are bound to break or to change. And because right now what happens is that you are obligated to make it perfect from the first release, right? Because then you codify it by writing documentation. And people will scream at you if you are forced by something to change it. Over.
Yeah, how does that work? So basically it's in the OS, but it's use at your own risk and don't yell at us if it changes.
Yeah.
Wouldn't people then just not use it?
That's the idea, because in general,
I think what would happen is that people might kick the tires on it, but nobody would actually use it for real in anger in a real channel, knowing that they might have to go and rewrite their entire channel. And knowing that we might just release 15 whatever, and their channel just break without warning. No one's going to do that. So therefore, the feedback you'll get will be very surface feedback. It'll be like, oh yeah, I mean that looks fine, but I prefer you to rename it from food to bar. It won't be, I tried it and it blew up in this really obscure corner case in my channel, because you'll never get to that corner case, because you'll know that you're wasting your time. I think that's what would happen.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of developers that aren't in the beta program, or you don't have that much time between beta and release. Like there's only like a month or two, maybe, and things are already finalized. Y'all are working on like the next quarter's worth of work already by that point. And so I feel like there's this tiny window for Roku to get it perfect and people to fix it. And so if it's like, hey, the stuff we're going to put in beta, we're just actually going to release it in use your own risk mode, and you can play with it for 6 months. And then we're going to find like I feel like, for me at least, I would play with almost all of those things that were out there and see what we can do, and be able to talk with other developers about it without being worried about getting slapped with NDA things or whatever. And I don't know, I'm optimistic that you get more people playing with it and being excited about things. But maybe that's just me. I'm fairly optimistic as a person, so maybe it doesn't work like that in real life. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the NDA or whatever secrecy there was over the fast data transfer APIs may have been detrimental, because we didn't have any discussion between each other, right? And I mean, on the example, I don't think it's practical to expect to make things perfect from the first release and not to have to change something. The problem with codifying it in documentation is then there is the counter movement, which is like, oh no, cannot touch the precious. We already documented it, right? And I have seen that in bad form of like, oh, we need to release completely different API or a patch method, right? And then we keep the broken method forever, just because we already documented it, right? That's my concern. But from the release point, I think that experienced developers already do it, like not adopt new API immediately with the first version. Like I could vouch that try and catch, even as I was proponent and pushed a lot around it, I did not adopt it in my code within the first release, right? And experience also showed that some bugs were found, unexpected bugs. After it has been extensively tested, somebody actually in production, it was George, found a very curious bug of like getting, I think it was the whiles exiting. There was a problem with this.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it as well.
So that's an example of sufficiently
Well, I think that's
API.
Isn't that a counterexample? I think
Like how?
George only really found it when he really went to town with it. And if we'd said, oh, we're doing this thing, but we're not really sure about it, and maybe it'll change completely, or we'll just give up on it, then would he have actually put the effort in? I just don't know. I think it's not an easy problem to solve, unfortunately.
Well,
I mean, maybe what we do is
it's not an easy, if there was no history of the world, meaning like if other companies didn't already face this problem and were doing something about it, and they do, right? Like they label things as experimental, or don't give them version 1.0 until they consider them solid.
Brighter Script has been in version 0 for like 4 years.
Well, that's another problem. that's you problem.
It's not stable yet. I'm not ready.
Well, people, yeah, but I mean, there are hundreds of apps that are solidly built and running in production. There are millions of dollars that are flying on it.
You got to when you have a beta app that is in absolute production around the world.
I know, but I have more breaking changes to make. I don't want to use that version 1 yet. It's hard versioning and locking into things and promising things, and it's very.
Once you release it, you're stuck to the syntax and the arity and all that, and then you're in the same boat that Roku's been dealing with for years.
Yeah.
So it's like,
but I already
have to change this, but we have 30,000 apps doing it this way. We're not allowed to make an adjustment here.
I already try not to ever make breaking changes in my V0, so it really is V1. But now V1's locked into type. Anyway, I digress.
Luke, that has to be something you guys deal with internally all the time. It's like, this would be great if we could do, but we're stuck. The baggage is there. Anyway.
All right, we're at an hour and a half. I think we should call it. I think this is great. Nas, I appreciate your thoughts on having like a lightning talks or whatever you called it. So I think maybe Scott, for next time, we'll see if we can find somebody to present on something 5 or 10 or 15 minutes. I think they'll be cool. So we can. Yeah.
If you guys ever want, I can do the link thing for those interested. You know, just cute.
Yeah.
But also others think about topics, right? Like proposing the channel.
Yeah.
Well, I could do a talk about Perfetto.
Yeah, that'd be great too.
Please.
Let's do that.
Yeah, a nice detailed demo of that would be
I can
fantastic.
do a demo of that. Yeah. Do you want to do that next week? Next.
Yeah, like next month. Yeah,
Yeah, next month.
I'm happy with next week, whatever you guys want.
next week works for me too.
Next week. Here we go.
I can, if there's enough interest, I could do on next week. I'd need to knock together some examples, but yeah, I could do.
I think that if we ran that up the flagpole, there'd definitely be interest.
Okay.
Yeah, let's connect about this offline. We'll set something up, whether it's next week, next month, 2 weeks, whatever you need. We'll figure it out. We can do it. That'd be great. All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming. I'll get this posted up to YouTube probably tomorrow, and so people that weren't here can watch it. And thanks for a great discussion, everyone.
See you guys all in either a week or a month. We'll see how it goes.